What's up, guys? How are we doing? What? That's not normal. Gun, stick to the script. What are we even doing? What's up, guys? Gun here. Somebody edit that in post. We're going to talk about tight ends in this video for DraftKings.com NFL Week 5. If you're stumbling across this video on YouTube, what you see on your screen, it's RunDFS.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS. We run DFS. If you guys are looking to submerge yourself into a community of like-minded DFS players and have on-the-go access to 24/7 chitter-chatter, voice chats, and strategy discussion, it's the place you want to be, man. And right now, half off of the VIP subscription prices going down for real. $15 week passes, $30 2 weeks, and $50 a month passes. All of those will literally be doubled in 3 weeks when NBA gets back. So, good time of year to come in, meet some cats, have some fun, join the voice chat. We'll have the Saturday night candle burn after the Yankees Twins, and we'll work on our NFL Week 5 lineup. So, that'll be a lot of fun. Hey, you want $25? I'm talking to you. $25 PayPal giveaway, man, right here on this channel every week right now. All you gotta do is be a subscriber, like the video, leave a comment below. And each video that we put up this week, including the NBA video, you guys can leave a comment on and be entered into the $25 giveaway that we'll do in the Week 5 review video that you should expect Monday or Tuesday. It's that simple. It really is. People have won. Real people are winning. It's not a fake scam contest. Unlike other channels, pointing at other channels, but not naming names because we don't want controversy. DraftKings.com NFL Week 5. We got the tight end position. If you guys saw my running back video, you know that I think running back is pretty hard this week. Tight end kind of feels tough too, man. It really does. There's a lot of uncomfortable decisions, uncomfortable clicks, and you end up betting on volume and maybe betting on some touchdowns. So a little bit like the NBA, or a little bit like the running back video. We're going to talk through a couple of these plays and maybe focus on a few of them. But what I'm doing for this as a complimentary piece to the tight end position, I'm using the RunDFS.com NFL VIP spreadsheet. This, by the way, a perk of having a subscription at RunDFS.com, which is half off, by the way. You guys can get access to this. I've went to the receiving stats data tab, and I've put just tight end. So whenever I come into a week like this, and certain guys just are not jumping off the page at me, I gotta use some stats. I gotta sift through a little bit more and kind of see where we're going. At the top of things, Zach Ertz is 6K against the New York Jets. And if we go to the defense versus position tab and go to receiving yards to tight ends, the New York Jets have allowed the second fewest receiving yards to opposing tight ends. Now, granted, they have played just 3 games, so it's a little bit skewed for that in that regard. But 4.4 DraftKings points per game. Zach Ertz is essentially a receiver for this offense, so he's one of those guys that is an exception to a rule. Has had 8, 7, 16, 7 targets in his 4 games thus far. Double-digit fantasy points. Do we feel comfortable with 14 fantasy points at 6K? Is that 6K not better spent elsewhere? Do we cut his price tag in half, punt a 3K tight end so we can have another $3,000 on a running back? That's probably how I'm feeling early on about Zach Ertz, especially with Dallas Goedert emerging as a supplement and a complement and a potential vulture to Zachary Ertz. Below him, Evan Engram. Tough matchup. Minnesota Vikings on the road here. He had 7 targets last week. It was a season low in targets. The game kind of got away from them in terms of game script because the Giants took a lead on the Redskins. They kept the lead. But check this out. Vikings struggled a little bit more against tight ends. 248 yards receiving to opposing tight ends. 28 total receptions. That is third most allowed in the NFL. Have not given up a touchdown just yet. 80% catch rate. and a 7-yard rush. So I don't mind looking at Evan Engram as a potential wide receiver type target guy. But I mentioned this in another video. So Wayne Gallman kind of showed that, hey, he can be trusted with a little bit of a workload last week and got a bunch of targets. We know Sterling Shepard's going to see his targets. Evan Engram with his targets. Golden Tate making his Giants debut this week. So I definitely think that could shake things up. 4,600 for him. The guy he's not coming back from injury. He's just coming off a suspension, so he has been working out, and he's probably ready to go. So this is a guy that could eat at some of the targets. I don't know that Golden Tate starts leading the team in targets or anything like that, but it does shake things up a little bit to at least have a devil's advocate type role against Evan Engram, who who could give us 14 or could give us 20 plus fantasy points. So I don't mind this. I do think the Vikings are pretty strong against outside wide receivers or just wide receivers in general. So Engram could float up to have to carry this team a little bit more. So I don't mind him. Darren Waller, this guy is basically a wide receiver, 8, 14, 7, 8 targets. So he's $5K. He's $1,000 cheaper than Zach Ertz. The matchup for him, definitely not good. The Chicago Bears, one of the best defenses in football. But it is a home game for Oakland, and this guy will get spammed with targets regardless. You can make an argument here that the Chicago Bears is at least a team that you can throw to the tight ends with, as they are just about league average in DraftKings points per game allowed, surrendering 248 receiving yards to opposing tight ends. So here's a guy that might volume his way into a decent game, but he doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies. He had that huge week at Minnesota, which again kind of makes you think Evan Engram can do his thing. But outside of that week, it's been a lot of average return on investment. But I definitely think he's a high volume target. And this week, with a lot of tough matchups for a lot of positions, with a lot of not obvious value at each position, I definitely think banking on volume and banking on talent in sometimes tougher matchups is certainly a reasonable way to go. Mark Andrews against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go back to this receiving stats tab in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet. Let's go to targets. Mark Andrews is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in targets for all tight ends in the NFL. He is trailing Austin Hooper, who we're about to talk about, and of course Ertz, Engram, and Waller, who we just talked about. And this is a guy that has seen some extremely high scoring games. His first 2 weeks, 27, 28 fantasy points. At KC, a little bit of a rain game. Didn't quite come down as much or as big of an efficient play, but he scored a touchdown in 3 of his 4 games thus far. Last week, 13 fantasy points. Red zone targets, 26% of his team's red zone targets have gone to him. So he's certainly an option here up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, though, against tight ends have been, at worst, average 10.5 fantasy points per game. So opposing tight ends have given up 2 touchdowns thus far. So you see kind of what I'm saying. This is kind of an ugly week so far. Austin Hooper, I like 4,500. I've liked him the last couple of weeks. Talked about him. He was the poster boy on last week's video, I believe. I think. Don't hold me to that. No, he wasn't. Disley was. He's the poster boy of this video. How about that? 11 targets last week, 7 targets the week prior. He's had 2 touchdowns on the season and a couple of games at 4,500. I'll take 16 plus all day long, all day strong. Now, the Houston Texans are a team that profile pretty well against tight ends on the 4-game sample size this season, just 5.6 DKP per game log, less than 100 yards receiving to the tight end position thus far. But I will say that the Texans were pretty poor against the tight ends last season. And this season, they haven't faced a team that actively involves their tight end in the receiving game just yet. Greg Olsen last week, sure, but prior to that, Virgil Green, Jacksonville, New Orleans, I guess Jared Cook, maybe, but I definitely think there's a case to argue that maybe regression is coming for how great they have appeared on paper against the tight end position. So Austin Hooper, certainly somebody that I'll introduce to my player pool consideration. Greg Olsen against Jacksonville, 4K. If you think he falls in the end zone, I don't like the Jacksonville matchup at all. 2.5 fantasy points last week, but prior to that, 25-20. Arizona, fast-paced game, high-scoring game, and Tampa Bay was a better matchup for him. That's a funnel defense. So Jacksonville could be a spot, but not something I'm running to. Delaney Walker against the Bills. The Bills are a really good defense. I'll talk about them in the defense video. Jared Cook becomes interesting as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have allowed the second most fantasy points per game on DraftKings to the tight end position. 30 receptions, 365 yards, a pair of touchdowns, and a 69.8% catch rate. Cook did see some targets last week, but he's not seeing a high amount of targets. But at 3,400, I can start banking on, or not banking, but gambling on guys to fall in the end zone. And we've talked about how this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense has been really good against running backs, rushing running backs, pass catching running backs. I do think there's room for the pass catching running back stats to kind of fall down, regress a little bit. But Jared Cook at 3,400 with Teddy Bridgewater's low average depth of target, I can see Jared Cook PPR into a somewhat formidable game, but you really, really need him fall in the end zone to be a great play. And then let's talk about Tyler Eifert. Tight ends against the Arizona Cardinals. Eifert, 5 targets on Monday night, couple of end zone targets that did not convert. Taking note of that. If we go to the receiving stats for tight ends, and then let's go to red zone targets inside the 20. Eifert on the season has 4 red zone targets, 3 inside the 10. That's 28.5% of his team's total targets. If we switch this from tight end to wide receiver, and then we control F, John Ross accounts for 7% that they'll have to make up. And I do think Auden Tate's a solid play in that regard. But, man, could Tyler Eifert sneak through here at 3,300? Could we live at 12 to 15? I think we could. He's half the price of the top-end guys. He's in the better matchup, and that's the story of the slate. The good matchup guys are low snap count, low target guys that we're gambling on, and the bad matchup guys are the high-volume, high-talent guys. So Tyler Eifert falls into the good matchup, questionable usage category, but I'm willing to gamble on him in this matchup. Trey Burton's kind of in the same song and dance for me. Low target shares so far. Matchups better. And the Bears will be without Taylor Gabriel. So it does kind of make some passes over the middle emerge a little bit more. And Chase Daniel. I trust Chase Daniel more than Mitch Trubisky so far. And then keeping it moving, scrolling down here. No one's kind of screaming at me. If the Vikings start passing it more, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a Kyle Rudolph game. Noah Fant, 2,800 for the Denver Broncos, 4 targets. Again, you're kind of just hoping for a touchdown here. It's an ugly position. It really is. So much like the running back position, I wanted to talk some of these guys out loud, have some floating thoughts out loud. If I had to create a tight pool right now, it probably has Austin Hooper towards the top. And then I'll just go ahead and keep gambling on tight ends against the Arizona Cardinals. So give me some Tyler Eifert. And then I just start comparing my matchup chart sheet here. And the Bucs second most points per game to opposing tight ends. I wouldn't hate a shot on a tall guy like Derek or like Jared Cook. And then past that, we got Colts, Chiefs, Raiders. So Raiders down there, somebody a defense I can pick on. And we just talked about how Trey Burton could possibly be that guy. So really ugly week for me in terms of projecting guys at each position. I'm very, very, very curious to hear who you guys like at the tight end position. Did I miss an obvious play? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll chop it up. We'll talk some of these plays. I'll do my best to respond to as many comments as possible and actually discuss it. So much like the running back video, I apologize if this video went a little bit longer, but I just wanted to freestyle thoughts as I didn't have 3 guys to lock on to that I really, really wanted to. But if I had to, Austin Hooper, probably Tyler Eifert. And then probably gamble on a guy like Waller or Evan Engram or somebody like that. But no warm and fuzzies at their price points. I will see you guys in the next video. If you guys got anything else for me, twitter.com/Gundagger Sports. You see it in the top right of your screen. I love you guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.